Welcome to the UKOCR Community Podcast, presented by Obstacle Racing Media. Each episode, we'll be talking to race directors, elite runners, weekend warriors, and frankly, anyone else from the UKOCR scene that will talk to us. Here is your host, Alan, aka Muddy Duck.
Anywhere in Chicken Town. The bloody scene is bloody sad. The bloody news is bloody bad.
Greetings, friends, acquaintances, and anyone else who just happens to be listening. Welcome to another edition of the UKOCR podcast. How's everyone's week been? Did you head up to Glasgow for High Rocks? I hear it was amazing. Super fast course, so many PBs. If you listen to the Swift Half on Friday as well, we talked about PBs at parkruns. Well, High Rocks Glasgow seems to be the same, the parkrun equivalent, or the High Rocks equivalent of Dulwich Parkrun. That makes sense to me. That makes sense in my head. I don't know if it makes sense to you. Yeah, lots and lots of PBs out there. Everyone had a really good time as well. Unfortunately, I didn't go. Ian went, and a couple of our team went, so hopefully we'll have some footage. Talking of footage, we have just put out a YouTube video of High Rocks Manchester. Sorry it's taken so long. I had a bit of trouble with my video package, so I've always used Power Director 365, but it's coming in at just under £200 a month because you have to £200 a year because you have to buy a license. So I've been shopping around, and while I've been shopping around, my license has expired. But then this week I found a new one, so it took a bit of downloading. It's quite a big program. It's called Lightworks. It costs a lot less, costs half the price of Power Director 365, and it's much easier to use. So normally I would take a full day or more to get, the footage we get down to a 3 or 4 minute video for you guys, and literally this took me less than 4 hours. I've got to admit, went through it all, really easy to use, very easy to edit. So great, we should be able to get them out much quicker going forward. Fingers crossed. That's the, so I always say, fingers crossed. So to this week's podcast, who have I got on for you? Well, we have got Libbie, Joyce and Jack Carpenter, both of them on. So it's like double. They joined me to talk about Rumageddon. They headed out to Poland to the Rumageddon in the snow on I think Jack calls it like a prison type area. I use the phrase Judgment Day. Like Judgment Day was down at the army barracks. This is more of a prison, but very, very, very surreal. Lots of snow, running in and out. Jack tells us about the race and doing it. And then Libbie got to play on some of the obstacles, and we talk a little bit about that. And we talk about OCR in general. Yeah. So, here it is. Have a listen. I'm going to jump back on later, because this is Sunday morning. I'm going to jump back on after I've watched the rugby when we beat Italy. Fingers crossed. Speak soon. Well, listeners, have I got a treat today for you? I have got Libbie Joyce. Hi, Libbie.
Hi.
You're getting a bit of a regular on this show now, aren't you?
Yeah.
Are you after my job or Ian's? Which one is it?
Oh, don't know.
You're after Becky Neal's on Who's That, aren't you? It's the build-up to Becky Neal's spot.
I wouldn't do that to Becky. That'd be a bit mean.
Yeah, it would. And a fellow podcaster, Jack Carpenter. Welcome to UKOCR podcast for the first time, I believe.
Yes, I've only done like a quick feature post with you guys, but yeah, it's the first time I've actually been on the actual podcast. Yes. And I'm after Matt's job. If you ask me, I'll have Matt. I'll just go straight to the top. I'll be Matt, please. If that's right.
Matt's like the silent one of the group now. He just chips in every now and then. He's like the guru, isn't he? He just
that's it.
He just chips in with pieces of golden nuggets, and just whenever we're going off track, he brings us right back in line and says, "Hey, this is how it goes." And yeah, we love Matt B. Which reminds me, I haven't listened to his podcast today. I'm normally like well up on the ball of that, but I'm not there today. Well, guys, I want to fetch you on because you've had an amazing weekend abroad.
We've been to Poland, haven't we, Libs?
Yep.
Was it? I want to say, was it Krakow?
Warsaw.
Warsaw.
Yeah, a little place called Modlin in Warsaw.
Wow. And
yeah, it's like I say, it's an old. When you was running through it, which we could talk about later, it felt like a prison. but I think it's an old fortress. I don't know what it's used for. I think the army use it now. Still open fortress for the army now, but it's like an old fortress. It's it was pretty creepy to run around, to be fair. But a little place in Modlin, just about 40k just outside Warsaw.
I was looking at the video, and I'm going to come back to videos in a little bit because we're talking about videos a bit later. But I was watching the video that got put together, and it was amazing. You know what it reminded me of? Judgment Day's event when they had it at the army base there, but probably a little bit more westernized. Yeah,
definitely. It was very westernized, very, very westernized. But I never did Judgment Day, but I know exactly what you mean from what I've seen on videos and stuff like that. Yeah, 100% understand what you mean by that. And it's interesting because I was listening to your podcast today with Gavin Holgarth, and you were saying about the flower effect of a race.
Yeah.
And it's exactly what it was. So they had like a main arena of 10 obstacles, like the most technical obstacles, if you like. And then they sort of just sent you sort of a K out this way, a K out this way, a K out this way. And it just generally felt like you were doing a flower back in. And I love races like that. You know, we don't often get them in England, definitely not. But yeah, I really enjoyed that part of the race, actually.
What was as a spectator, because you went there as a spectator, was it good for you with that type of event?
Yeah, it definitely was, because it was kind of easier to get to the main obstacles, and you weren't like running around trying to like follow like a map or something, like where do I go? You could just you could see most of it, and then if you could literally, if you saw them, you could run to that nearest obstacle which they were going to, and it was literally not that far away. So it's actually really good to get to the nearest obstacles, and you can follow them out a little bit and then come back in again.
Wow.
So it was really good.
I bet we should tell people what actual race it was, because we're getting deep into a race here. I haven't even told them which one you went out to. Go on, Libbie. Tell us the name, because I always get it mixed up. I can never say it.
Rumageddon. So that's the one we went to.
Yeah.
I always really said Rumageddon. I keep getting my N's and my M's mixed up. But Runmageddon, and now it's a bargain price, isn't it? Now, if I've looked on the internet and I've done a bit of little bit of work around and saying how much it is compared, because it comes in. Is it krona?
It's Polish. I don't actually know what the actual currency is, but it's PLN, the actual code for it could be krona. I don't actually know, but it's not euro anyway. Let's put it that way. And it's one of those funny currencies where you think you're rich when you're really not. So like 1,000 thing is like 10p. It's nothing. But actually, I'll tell you how it all started, Alan. As you know, I coach Libbie, and Libbie's mum reached out to me a few months back and said, I want to send Libbie out for a bit of experience in Europe. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. I'll come with you. We'll make a weekend of it. So she booked the flights, booked the hotel, booked everything without booking the tickets for the race. Then eventually, when the tickets came out, we realised that Libbie wasn't actually old enough to actually race. And we did email the RD and said, look, is there any way we can make this work? And they were pretty strict, as most Europe is, with insurances, that Libbie could not partake in the race. Yeah. So it ended up being a trip for me in the end, which was quite kind of odd, because I was supposed to be coaching Libbie, but it turned out to be the other way around. But yeah, no, that's how it all came about last year. It just sort of came around early race, and we thought we'd go and do it. But as we'll find out, Libbie fortunately did have a good chance after speaking to the ID to have a bit of a go on the rigs and have a bit of a play, and I was allowed to coach her afterwards on them. So it wasn't all doom and gloom. She did get a chance to show her stuff off anyway.
Cool. How much was the actual race then? Can I ask you how much you paid for it, Jack? Or
yeah, so it was 70 Polish money, whatever that was, which I think turns out to be about £15. It was nothing.
Well, that's what I worked it out at. I worked it out at £19 at today's currency. And I was thinking, I must have worked this out right. I just got to ask you when you came on.
Yeah. And basically, so they do three, a bit like Spartan. They do a beginner, a recruit, and then the next one up, I can't think what they call it, but it's basically the three distances. You've got a 3K for beginners, 6Ks for sort of like your next level up, which would be our super if you think in Spartan terms, and then they've got a beast, and then they have an ultra beast, which was done over that weekend. And it's interesting because I wanted something that was competitive, but I didn't, because this year for me is based around short course. So I wanted something that was a bit more short and technical. And fortunately, the 6K that I did was short and it was technical. So I got exactly what I wanted. And it was actually more than 6K. It was getting on more for 5 miles, but I didn't mind that. I was enjoying myself. But yeah, so you got a lot for your money, that's for sure.
About 30 obstacles. When I look on the inside, it says intro, recruit, and classic. Then you've got your hardcore.
That's the intro,
and your ultra. Yeah.
So I did the recruit, which was supposedly 6K, which turned out to be more. But you still got the same main 10 obstacles that were used throughout the whole of the weekend, which are like what I would call the more competitive technical obstacles, if you like. And another reason we chose this particular race is because we're both aiming to do Hungary later this year in the Euros. And a lot of their rigs will be at Hungary. They're already one of the races that's announced to be represented at Hungary. So we just thought we'd go get a bit of time on those particular rigs, which we don't see in England. So
sneak peek.
Sneak peek, indeed. Yes.
Yeah.
The fact that it was like 4 foot of snow and -7 degrees is another story.
Yeah.
But yeah,
That's what I was going to bring up to next, because I seen it was like seriously deep in snow.
And you know what? A part of my brain didn't even think about that. When Katie said let's go do the race, I didn't even comprehend that it might be snowing, cold. I just was like, yeah, let's go do it. Not really thinking about what weather conditions could be. And it was actually Ramsey that texted me 2 days before and said, you're off to Poland this weekend, aren't you? I was like, yes. And he said, do you realise the weather's like this? And I was like, no. Oops. Yeah. So quick panic buy on some base layers and some cheap clothes, just that I didn't mind losing or ripping. Amazon got a bit of money out of me the week before, that's for sure.
Well, I have seen what you're running. I mean, you're running, was it long tights and long base layer?
Yeah, basically. So I had some Stay Sky long tights that I wore. I took shorts as well, just in case, but I wasn't that English to be wearing shorts out there, that's for sure. So long trousers and then like a base layer and my sponsored vest on top of that with my supported business that I work with on top of that. So yeah, and then a couple of buffs, neck and head, and then you get given a headband like Spartan anyway. Sort of a Bleg mitt style glove I had on, so the ones you can pull off like a mitten and put back on. But really randomly, it actually wasn't, I don't know about Libbie thought on the side, not racing, but when I was actually racing, it was actually quite warm. You know how your body warms up, and I was warm. I never felt cold once. It wasn't until we stopped and then we did a bit of filming, and then I looked down at my legs and they were just like slowly going into hypothermia, and I was a bit like, maybe I should get some clothes on now. But it was quite cold, yes.
What about you standing around, Libbie? Was it cold for you? How did you feel it?
No, I was sweating. But
you weren't exactly stood around, were you? Let's be fair.
No, I think it's because I had so many layers on as well. I think I had leggings on, and then I had my Harrier running waterproof trousers on, and then I had a base layer, a top and coat on. But I had to undo my coat because I was just running around like a lunatic. trying to me and my mum had no clue where they were coming out of, so we're like running around trying to figure out where the next point was. And I think people also think we were kind of crazy because we were like, because I saw Jack come out of one bit and I was running the other way and I didn't see him come out, so I went sliding down this hill as fast as, I don't know, like really fast, trying to stop myself. But because the snow had compact so much, it was just so like, it was really slidey, so I just went sliding down this hill trying to stop, because Jack was going the opposite direction.
I mean, it was so much fun though. So much fun watching that. Let's talk a little about the obstacles and that out there. I've looked online. I've watched a couple of videos and that and things like that. Was you expecting in weather like that? I'm going to come to you first, Libbie. You know, because I know you've been around the world and that, but we're talking about serious cold, serious like temperatures and snow. Was you expecting the rigs that they had, you know, bearing in mind that it is that cold and people with the hands and things like that?
Yeah, so we like, because I've not properly like raced in snow or been in snow like with obstacles, I was like, I didn't really like, if I was racing, I wouldn't know how my hands would cope. But that's the thing that I want to learn. So I was really like lucky to go over there to figure out how the stuff actually, like, yeah, how you actually warm your hands up and all of that. And yeah, I was kind of like shocked and like how well they actually do in the cold with the rigs, because I knew that they'd do so well, but some of them were there with like no gloves at all. And I'm like, how do you keep your hands warm? But I think that because they're used to it, they probably know how to do it more.
A bit like when we used to do Tough Guy, you know, we'd all go cold water training and things like that. You think that it's a bit more of a climatization thing than it is we're used to the warm weather. As we get home and put our hands on the radiators, don't we? They go home and put their hands in some ice baths and just get used to it, type of thing.
Yeah.
Cool. What for you, Jack? Was it a big shock for you?
Interestingly, I don't struggle in the cold.
Right.
I don't know whether, because obviously I come from a building background, so whether I'm just used to being a bit more hardy, I generally don't know, but I don't tend to get cold fingers. Obviously, a job I do now is I run an outdoor boot camp, so I'm outdoors. Like, I've just literally got there from today. It's out there. It's 3-5 minutes here. Again, a bit like that. I'm acclimatized to it a little bit more. When I was doing the obstacles, I never once felt, oh my god, I'm gonna fall off because my hands were so cold. I never that thought process never really came into my head in this race. Now, having said that, if it had been double the length of 15k, even longer, maybe that's when you might want to start thinking, you know, I'm going to be out there a long time. You know, I might, if my hands get wet, for instance. What I tend to find though now, and I think the more standardization OCR is going, the more technical obstacles that come in, the less there is mud, the less there is water, the less there is, you know, like, I know the very British way is to be very mud runners, if you like, you know, you're going to get wet, you're going to get muddy. You know, nuts is a brilliant example of that. Then, you know, they all like to put you through the mud before you go on the obstacles, and that makes the obstacle tricky. Whereas I think over here, especially in Europe, that it's actually set the way around. It's quite standardized in the sense that everyone gets the same chance on a rig dry. So they're not like, we're going to throw you in this water and mud, and then we're going to put you on this rig. It was almost the way around. We're going to put you on the rig first, let you have a good chance of completing, and then we'll put you in the water and mud afterwards. So they almost have a switch round sort of feeling. I think UK has run the other way around. I think we think to make things hard, it has to be wet, whereas their regs are a lot harder, but you probably get a better chance of achieving them because you're not wet and not cold. They've given you an easier opportunity to actually complete them. And they were quite technical, like I was saying, that there's 10 rigs that they call their sort of standardized rig. And they aren't easy, you know, nunchucks, balls, UFOs, they're all stuff that we would class as tough rigs in the UK, 100%. I mean, some people would throw a hissy fit if you threw it at a Spartan, let's put it that way. You know, so they're not like, we're not just talking like monkey bars. I mean, in fact, I didn't even do a monkey bar or a rope climb. It's the first time I've done an OCR race with no monkey bars, no rope climb.
Wow.
Weird, actually. I never thought about that. Yeah. And the actual only obstacle I failed, had to have 2 attempts at was like a 12, 14-foot wall. It's one of those that you look at it and go, yeah, I could probably do that. And then you get to it and you're like, holy crap, that's a long way up. It took me a couple of attempts.
The obstacles look good. Just go back a little second to what you said then about in the UK, we actually put people into mud and then obstacles, and then over there.
Yeah.
Do the RDs of a lot of European events actually run OCR? So if we look at the UK, we have got some amazing race directors, but very few actually run OCRs.
I would agree with you. Yeah.
Your point there, and I'll give a shout out to my race, and Libbie will back me up on this. We have a rig section, and that is well before you go in any water. We always make sure you do our rigs before you go in any water or any mud, and we do it for more than reason. We want people to get across it because it gives them that sense of achievement. And secondly, we want to minimise risk of injury. You know, anyone slipping off with wet hands.
That as well.
Yeah. So
for sure,
we do it twofold. You know, we want people to complete it, and we do it for risk of injury. But I do see a lot of racers and a lot of good racers that do put you in the mud, you know, before you do a rig. And it's always been I've really, really disliked that, you know, going to a race and doing it that way around. It should always be that point of put a rig before water.
Yeah, so here's the thing, and this is, I think you could get away with it 3 years ago, even 2 years ago, even last year. This year, next year, going forwards, as the more talk about, I say the word again, standardization, Olympics, this, that, I think the problem is you can't have that. It's almost makes it unfair. Like for me, if they want to go across this board where they want to find the fastest man, the fastest female, whatever it is, everyone has to have the same rules across the board. And unfortunately, if you get someone's hands, like if you put some water right first, say, I don't know, there's a rig, then you go for a water first. Say, for instance, I managed to keep my hands dry. All of a sudden, I've got more advantage.
Yeah.
Or maybe I don't get suffered in water as much. So I can go. Give an example. Europeans at Spartan last year when they put us through that lake. I know a lot of people would say, "Oh no, that actually took my breath away. It was that cold." I then really had 5 minutes of panicking that I actually couldn't get feeling my hands back. My chest was tight. Whereas I'm a water baby. I don't mind water. I'm head up freestyle across that and I'm gone. It doesn't bother me. So now I've got a slight advantage just purely because I'm better at those conditions. Now, it doesn't necessarily make me a better obstacle racer. Certainly doesn't make me better on the rigs, but I have a better advantage now on that rig. And to me, that's kind of not fair. I think you should give everyone the same advantage getting into a rig dry. And the other thing they did over here in Europe, which is interesting, the elites went off second. So the open wavers had already gone through. There was enough time, and then we went through, and they always kept 2-3 lanes open for anyone with an elite band with a yellow headband. And I tell you now, that marshalling was incredible. I never felt once I had to stop, ask someone to move out my way. The marshals are very switched on to saying elite runner coming through or recruit runner coming through. Everyone moved to one side, let me through the rig, and then they carried on. There was none of that, oh, he's elite, he's too good for us, blah, blah, blah. It felt like that's what they'd been instructed to do and say, and it worked flawlessly. I don't think it was any one that went wrong or got a mistake wrong or was unfairly done, due to that. So I think if you are going to do that sort of thing, you do need to make sure your race is set up for that. But I actually preferred going second. One, it meant any ice or wet on the rigs. Now you've got a dry rig, right? So there is that benefit. There's me saying no. Yeah. But actually, and Libbie can say, even though it was that cold, the rigs never felt slippy or wet. It's really weird. Like it's that almost European weather. It's like it's different in England, right? We get wet, we get real wet. It just seems to hang around. It's horrible. It's a bit like when we have hot. It's not a nice warm. It's a horrible sticky warm. Whereas in Europe, it's like, oh, it's lovely warm. So I do think that makes a big difference as well. Weather conditions and race conditions, obviously. But yeah, personally, I would rather see people go through the rig fairly and everyone has the same playing field than throwing everyone through. I don't get it. I don't get why. I mean, I understand it's a British thing. Tough guy you've mentioned there that's just, everyone knows they're going to go and get wet, and that's more of a mental toughness as it is a rig toughness, right? Yeah. And I still think there's a place for that, and I still think I'm not saying we should stop that OCR. It's not, it's like saying we should stop the spear because it's not OCR. I disagree with that. I still think anything that tests your body's ability to do something is OCR. And I had this conversation with John Alban, I remember 3 or 4 years ago, and was like, what is OCR? And no one's right or wrong. There is no right or wrong reason to what OCR is. It's whatever that RD believes OCR is at the time. But you've hit the nail on the head, Alan. The difference is, and Gavin, this is why Tartan Warrior is going to be such a good race next weekend, and whenever it is, because Gavin is a racer. So that race will be set up as a racing racer. And I'm not saying races out there are poor because they're not, but you'll find that when you do race these races, the background tends to be racing. I know for sure the guy that set up, the owner of Rumageddon, he is also a racer, bison racer. Gregory, his name is. Yeah. He is the one that came over, got the long sideshow bob hair at Spartan. He is also a racer. So a lot of these top racings in Europe all come from elite racer backgrounds. There's a reason why Hang On Run are doing so well this year. You go over to Holland and watch all those boys train. They're all training that level, like bang, 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 as if they're racing. There is a thing there, definitely.
I think 100%. I think for competitive racing, it's absolutely, you've got to have a racer setting up a course. And I think Nuclear this year in the Challenge Cup, they made some massive improvements in the Challenge Cup compared to how Nuclear was always run in the past, where it was like let's get you as muddy as hell, and then let's go and put you on a rig of some kind. Where last year it was very much different. It was, hey, we've got sections and move people around that were, you didn't get as much. When you're out there, Libby, and you're doing these, because you've done nuts. I mean, you're a podium at nuts. You know what I mean? You're right up there. Whatever we talk about, one of probably the toughest, mentally toughest courses in the country. Nuts is at this moment in time. I don't think there's many courses out there that affect you mentally. And we're going in the water, we're going in the mud. How's your approach when you come up to rigs like that? So you've been in the mud. We all know you go to nuts, you go down them mud pits when you're coming out of the tyres and in that little tunnel, and then you come up into the village, and then you've got the stairway to heaven and the rigs and things like that. What's your mental focus? Are you looking to clean your hands? What do you do different?
So I normally carry a book with me at all times. So I'll always have one on my head and then one on my neck. So I know if one on my neck gets dirty, I've still got the one on my head to wipe my hands on, or I'll use the grass by the side of it just to get the most of it off. But like some of it doesn't it's like sticky as well. So it's not like slippy mud as well. So like some of it is slippy mud, some of it is sticky. So some of it doesn't bother me too much. But I think because I've done it so many times now, I know when I come up to it, I need to wipe my hands off. And I try my best not to get as much on my hands, but sometimes you have to. So I will just wipe it on my head or headband or on the grass. But definitely, I think nuts is definitely like, it's a mind race. You have to have your mind to that one. And whereas like if we go back to when you said like nuts is like, you've got the UK ones which are, you get muddy and all of that. I find them ones are like more challenging, and where you go to European ones, they're more speed ones as well. So you've got the challenge ones and you've got the speed ones. So I think UK is really good for the challenge side of it, whereas Europe's good for if you want to get speed races in.
Yeah, I get that. Was when you went over there to see this race, did it open your eyes a little bit to some of the speed that some of these guys are doing these rigs in? I mean, I saw, what was the one where you jumped on a tyre and slid down and then jumped onto further tyres? I saw you flew through that, Jack.
Yeah. I think it's just, well, as you know, I own my own facility, Field Fit, and I love it. I love watching their guys and getting those ideas and bringing them home. At the tyre one, I mean, I've seen it done a few times. I know Bison Race in Poland use a boxing bag. So they put a boxing bag on a chain, you jump on the boxing bag, grab, and you just slide. But I just think I call them flowy obstacles, right? They're obstacles that I wouldn't technically call them technical, so they're not really relying on your grip technique effectively, but they are relying on thought of how you go through the obstacle. And that's where personally I prefer those rigs where I have to sort of move my body in space and time to get through a rig flowy, and that's what it is. And as Libby was saying, the more speedy style races, which is the way OCR is going to go now, especially with all these championships coming up and things, I think a lot more obstacles will be speedy, and you will see the lack of things like the rope climb. And interesting, Gavin said that on your podcast, didn't he? He said the rope climb, for me, it's not a fast enough obstacle. Now, yes, agree or not agree. I mean, I think personally with the right training, you can get up a rope in 2 pulls. It's just as quick as anyone doing it. But I appreciate what he's saying. The average person is probably 5 pulls, and that's, 30 seconds on a rope. But for me, it's all about how to improve your obstacles is how efficiently, not necessarily how quick, but how efficient you can be through that rig or whatever that is, and this is something that we've worked on with Libs. Is we all know Libs is phenomenal on rigs because her body weight ratio is incredible. She's strong enough to hold her body weight for hours if she needed to. So now it's turning, how do you make you quicker at that, without taking too many risks, try this, no, too much of a risk, right, let's back it down, try this, okay, that works. And I know one rig we had Libby doing, it was a simple rig, it was a long bar and then about 8 rings, so nothing too technical. And Libby was getting on the bar and she was shuffling along, and I think she had 10 touches, and then she went on 8 rings, 1 touch each ring, so she had 18 touches per rig. And a few seconds later, I said, no, try this, this, and this. And once we worked out a technique she could do, she did it in 4 touches. and she was nearly 20 seconds quicker, but actually for less effort. What I always said to Libbie is what you got to think with rigs is, especially when you've got, say, how many rigs, 20 rigs in 3K 6K this weekend. If you can save yourself 5 seconds on each rig, that's a lot of time by the end of the race. And people don't seem to remember that. They think about walking into the rig, getting the heart rate down, grabbing the ring, being safe. You can sometimes be nearly 30 seconds to a minute longer on a rig than what you would normally be if you were just doing it, as a normal rig. And I understand that obviously race comes into it. Your heart rate's up and things like that, and you might be panicking. There might be other people next to you, but generally it's a confidence thing. And I find this in women, as I was saying, women tend to, the ladies in OCR don't have the confidence. They've got all the ability, just haven't got the confidence to actually trust themselves and jumping out to a rig naturally and seeing what happens. We always play it too safe in England, I feel. And the ones that actually take the risks and reward, tend to do quite well in the races. And I suppose for me, I get the benefit of being able to train those type of movements at my place all day long. So I have the ability to train on op rigs, which makes a huge difference, right? Anyone that has ability to have a rig, I know Liv's got a rig in her back garden. You've got all these different training facilities around the country. If you were able to go there every Saturday, every Sunday to train, then you'll probably find yourself, like anything, if you practice more, you're going to get better, right? And I think I've naturally just worked on those sort of flowy movements. I called it race brain as well. It's like, how would you do a rig in a race mode, and how would you do a rig in a train mode? Now, why would you train like that if you're not race like that? And why would you race like that if you're not training like that? It's one of those things that, I don't understand these people that do certain things in training, but they never race like that. It's a bit like, no, let's train how you're going to race. So at least once a week, because that's what you need. And normally that's on rigs. But yeah, I think as we go on in this development of British obstacle sports is happening, and I think you'll find that we will get more technical rigs, because these centres, these facilities, the races it'll be really interesting to see what happens at Spartan at the end of the year for the UK champs. It'll be interesting to see if their added rigs will be more technical, because there's definitely a cry for it. I think people will want it. It's just it'll be interesting to see what they perceive as technical. It'll be interesting.
Yeah. I know you said they're moving from 18 to about, I think you said between 4 and 8 touches. I remember watching Tristan Steed at Runrum, and you're right. The Runrum had the longest rig ever. It was like lanes. It was 6 lanes, and it was like 100 meters long to complete it from start to finish. And there was a ring section, and it was about 10 meters. I'd say about 20 rings, and he just jumped up and he literally missed 4 rings out every go, where you saw every other racer coming by and doing one. Is that what you're learning to do, Libbie, then? To miss certain things out? You don't have to touch everyone?
Yeah, so I'm, like Jack was saying, I'm getting better at my rig, so I'm got my confidence there. I just need to bring more confidence now. I'm trying to skip stuff out, jump to things, because beforehand I had when I was going through them really easily, but I weren't having the confidence to jump out, to try grab a bit more, to miss some stuff out. So that's what I'm working on now, is to skip and jump out to things.
Yeah.
The other thing, Alan, you've got to think as well, for instance, this race at the weekend was multiple attempts. So once we cracked down that rule, there was no bans. It was multiple attempts. So I knew, for instance, if I jumped out at a rig and missed or made a mistake or fell off, I literally just get back up and go and do it again. Now, you take European champs where you got ban system and you've got one chance. That might not come into your play. You don't want to be doing a risk that where you might take, unless you're really cocky and you can do it and you're happy that you can do that jump, do that reach, whatever. But generally, you want to play a little bit safer if there's a ban system, right? So it really does come down to the rules of the race as well, and knowing those rules.
What was it? So you go back there and it was multiple attempts. You said there was 3 lanes for the elite runners and that. Was there a specific retry lane, or was it just?
No, there wasn't. That's interestingly no, but I'll tell you what they did. The waves were very small. There was probably, I say very small. There was probably about 40 people in each wave. In my particular wave, I ran off because the start, actually really ironic, I don't know if you saw my Instagram, was a sandbag carry for the first 400 meters, which my eyes lit up when I saw that. That's my thing. So yeah, I got a really good lead at the start and managed to hold that lead with a small group of us. So I was never really ever with anyone else.
Right.
It felt really weird, but so I didn't notice whether if they were pushing people into different lanes or not. I personally had a clean run, so I just went through all the lanes as one. But I'm assuming they would have left 2 lanes open, and then one was a retry lane and one was a go lane, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Obviously, that wouldn't work, but if you had more people, I suppose. But
yeah, I did see some of the obstacles, some of the like really tall walls that you had pegs on. Did you see them, Libbie?
Yeah, so I actually
completed
go
it.
on that after.
Yeah, you did.
So yeah, I did. So the first time I tried it, I had absolutely no clue what I was doing, and I got a bit confused about it. And the marshal was trying to help me, but I don't think he realised I was English, so he was talking to me in Polish, and I was like, but I understood some things he was saying because he was like trying to show me it well. So I was like, oh, okay. So I started doing it, and then as I was getting further up, I got into the hang of it. So I started getting quicker, and by the end of it, I think I got quite quick at it. So I felt kind of good on it. But also going back to when Jack was saying about the lanes when he left 2 open, when the elites go off, every obstacle had 2 lanes open for the whole race until all the elites have gone past.
Right. Oh,
so
good.
no one had used them lanes. They were all on the other side.
So that they were potentially like purely for elites and retries and that, and made it for a smoother race.
Yeah, so as soon as all the elites went past, then the open wave started going on them, but no one was on them for the whole elite wave.
Cool. I'm going to look to you, Libbie, with this next one. The standard of racing over there, because Jack was out there, Jack was racing, so Jack didn't see a lot of the people he was racing against, but you saw a lot of it. What was the standard like out there? You know, is it really high? Is it as high as what we've got here or higher?
So it was quite high, to be fair, because I was like, when I was watching, so when Jack was warming up, actually, because one of the waves were going out, I think it went out 10 minutes before Jack, and that wave was just rapid. And then watched Jack's wave, and Jack was second in his wave, and then we looked at the scores, and he was 12th overall. So it does show how the first wave had some rapid people in them, and the standard was really, really high. Because I was looking at the females as well, because they didn't go long after the males. And the first runner was, so by the time I saw the first elite male come past the first section in Jack's wave, the first female had already gone past the second obstacle.
Wow.
So they weren't far behind the males at all. So I think some of the females would have been caught catching up the back group of the elite males.
Brilliant. What are you going to take away from the weekend, Libbie? What's this a golden nugget that's Jack's given you while you was training afterwards? There must be some golden nugget you've taken.
You paid for that.
We'll bleep it out.
No, to be fair, I took quite a few away. The main thing I did take away was I have to take risks at some races. I can't go easy at all races because of how fast they are over there. I need to learn how to take them risks to make me faster. And that's, I think, I think we spent a good 10 minutes on one of the rigs. The discs one in the
the hardest rig, basically.
Yeah, we spent a good 10-15 minutes on there, just getting me going faster and faster and faster on it and taking more risks.
Cool. Jack, what's it like training Libbie? Training what I'm going to pronounce here is going to be the fastest lady the UK's ever seen.
Oh, 100%. She's going to be world champ. It's the next Lindsay Webster you're talking to right now.
Yeah.
No, definitely. She has all the ability to do so. It's interesting because when I got in the coaching game, you don't ever think about the kids per se. I don't see Libbie as a child now. She's like my little sister, but like she's a young woman, you know. But saying that, I do have some younger kids as well that I coach, and actually, it's not any more rewarding, but there is something in it that makes it. I suppose you're nurturing them in a way, you're molding them, if you like, in a way that they listen. It sounds silly. The adults still listen, but I think a part of the adult is always like, I'm doing it for my own personal goals, whether it be fitness or better racing or whatever. Whereas with kids, you can see they, especially someone like Libbie, when they're so dedicated to the sport and they want to be, you know, I'm going to go back to this because I want to win this race. You know, it's like you can get on board with that. And Libbie's definitely the one. And I use a thing called Training Peaks where I coach all my athletes. And when I log on to Libbie's, I always see the green, and that's always a good sign. You know, it means that they're well dedicated. And it's nice to have, when you're putting that work in, doing the plans, it's nice to have someone say, I'm doing it and I'm improving. And I love that text you get when they go on, I've just hit a BB, or I've just done a rig that I haven't been able to do, or I've just been able to do so many pull-ups, or whatever it is. You know, when you get that text, it's just like a little smile to yourself to say, yeah, great, this is all working. But hey, look, it's not me at all. I just write the program. Libbie still has to do the work, right? You know, it's not just like a special pill that you just read the plan and you're this pro, you know, like it's such a hard thing because we've all been there. And I'm pretty sure, you know, Alan, you've been there as well. It's like, you just have to be super dedicated. You have to be consistent, and you just have to want and enjoy it, right? If we don't have fun, and this is the problem, I think sometimes any sport, especially when you get better at it, becomes a chore because all of a sudden now you're like, you're so-and-so and you have to do well at this race, you know, and it's like, especially when you listen to Who's Hot and your name gets mentioned, it's a bit like, oh Christ, now I can't just have an easy race. I've got to push now, you know, but sometimes that's the push we need, right? Sometimes it's that push that you need someone to say, come on, Jack, look, you're supposed to be winning this race or doing quite well, or Libbie or whoever it is. Sometimes you just need that kick at the bum, right? And I'm not really a kick up the bum coach. I don't like to be too harsh, but sometimes it is needed.
It's great to have your name mentioned, anything like that, though, and Who's Up, you know, like if you're getting your name mentioned and Who's Up, you're good. That is,
for sure.
Up there. That Definitely. Is, you know, and you two guys get your name mentioned much more than I do. I don't think I've ever mentioned my name. I'm going to have to have words with them.
I'll message Becky and ask her just to mention it if that's all right. I'll ask her. Don't worry.
Just give Alan a quick mention.
Just to give a shout out.
Yeah, it'll be some blooper or something like that. That's where it'll get mentioned in my name, and that's about it. Before I let you go, guys, I'm going to come to you, Libbie. I know you always give shout outs to everyone you want to. Sponsors, everything, Libbie. Go away. You can shoot head first.
That's a lot.
You've got your vest with them all written on. You've just shown me your vest.
I've got a new vest with everything on it now. Well, not everything, but I've got a couple on it. So I've got Harrier Runner, Subsport Swimsy, Boom. I've got Bristol Moats Street, Litchfield. I've got Happy Monkey. I've got Akuma, who sponsors literally all my t-shirts, who I absolutely adore. And then I've got, I'm trying to think who else there is now. I've got obviously my team, which support me through everything, who I'm absolutely grateful for. Then I've got Jack as well, who's actually.
Oh, I didn't think you were going to say it. I was going to cut you off.
Because I think that's actually helped me motivate me more, because with my Training Peaks, and then I've got everyone who's in the OCR community as well. And the other thing is, so for the past couple of, I think, months now, Pete and Riley and Becky have been coming over every Thursday, and Jesse and Riley have been doing their training. Then Pete's come and helped me do my sprints. But we've also got in the habit now of trying to get Strava segments around my village.
Right.
And I have got 2 new crowns, actually.
Ooh.
And best thing is, well, it's not really a good thing, but at the same time it is, and I'm kind of proud of it. There's a triathlon GB person who's in our village, and I've took the crowns, which makes me very happy. So nice one. I'm trying to keep them now.
And a new IG account. We've got a new Instagram account called Monkey Pro.
Oh, yes.
Yes, we do.
So anyone out there, if you listen to this, you need to follow Monkey Pro. This is going to be your new. So OCR is going to be the main thing, but then the backup hobby is going to be film and media. Yeah.
So because ever since I started, I've always had like the idea when I get older to do rabbiting, and that's one thing I really wanted to do in the sport, because I think it's good to get out and like show people actually what the sport is and film it. And I like doing the filming because you watch like younger, like kids used to love watching like videos of it, And I think it's kind of cool to like just sit there and like watch the videos of the actual race, because you couldn't race it or be there, and you could see what the atmosphere is like, and you might want to go do it. So I thought, why not? And then Jack's helped me with the idea as well. And where did we actually come up with the idea?
We're on a race somewhere, I'm sure. Probably
I think it was in Scotland.
Somewhere. Yeah. Oh yeah, that 10-hour drive we did to Scotland. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, it was the drive there. I was like, and because I took creative media as well for my GCSEs, so that's also going to help with my GCSEs as well. So that's where that ideas come from. And so I thought, why not go for it? So we did our first video and posted it yesterday, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, yesterday.
Which looks quite cool. Which looks really cool. And which leads me on to you, Jack. Jack, you had the best idea regarding videos and things like that. So me and Ian, I don't know if you know, but me and Ian's been sharing it. The hashtag idea that you had. We should be sharing hashtags all the time nowadays. So we need to be on the back of this, don't we? So Libbie, we need the hashtags.
Yeah, we do. I just thought it's a pretty clever idea, isn't it? Right, of mine there. Thank you. I think
we've given you the credit. You've had the credit several times in our podcasts.
Yeah, well, thank you. But basically, as you know, and this is the reason me and Luke started the podcast. I think for me, the reason we love OCR, right? And we want it to grow. And the only way OCR is going to grow, especially at the minute with the way things are going through, is all about eyes on. You know, we need to have eyes on. The more eyes on, the more money, more sponsors, more people want to be involved, blah, 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 blah. We all know that. But there seems to be a lack of eyes on at the minute. And podcasts are great. They're great for people listening while they're running and driving in the cars and stuff like that. And even visual podcasts. But generally, I think just seeing clips of races is what we want to see. And there's definitely a bit of a love for a rig here and there, you know. And if you look at all the Instagram videos of rigs, especially in Europe, where the rigs are a bit different again, they get a lot of love. We don't tend to have that in the UK. So this is why, again, I said to Libbie, look, we're at races, most races. You know, if I'm not racing, you're racing. If you're racing, I'm not racing. We just record. You know, and occasionally we'll spotlight people. So like this particular video was on me because I was the spotlight. But generally, like when we go to Tartan in a few weeks, you know, that will be a general video of everyone, you know. And if you just happen to be featured in the video, you know, you'll get a spotlight and a hashtag. And then anybody wanted to watch that video, just hashtags that thing and everyone puts that same hashtag in, you know, and you could do it per race or per person or whatever you want to do, I suppose. They do it at weddings, don't they? But I think it'd be a good idea to do it, you know, because we all love a free video or a free photo, you know. Not bad. And then it helps people to share stuff, you know. So like if you see a video of you that some stranger's taken, I'm pretty sure we're all on cameras of people around the world that have taken videos as the OCR and we don't even know it. You know, and it just gets looked at, deleted out and moved on probably. It's in the cloud somewhere, you know, but if someone could have shared that, then I could have shared it. And then there's the rolling effect, which needs to happen in OCR. I just think anyone needs to do it if they can. If you love OCR, just help share out, you know, because I do think that needs to happen, you know, especially on the female side of things, get more female involved in, get more youth involved in, you know, and those guys that want to just run on a Sunday for fun and get muddy and dirty and do all that sort of stuff as well, you know. It's good for everyone.
I love it, man. It's always got me how we've never used the GoPro facilities or the camera facilities to the full extent and literally had a set camera on one rig or whatever at Spartan or wherever. Yeah. And people would tune into it. I tune in to watch Loch Ness Monster, just to watch like the ripples on the water every now and then. So I'm pretty certain I'd tune into when there were an OCR on.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we need the webcams. We need the webcams, don't we? Jack, who do you want to give a shout out to? Mention your gym and everything else and that.
Well, look, I haven't got a billion sponsors like Libbie, so it won't be that one. The biggest one for me is Athletic Brewing. They support me massively, and they did last year and this year they continue to. So thank you to them. From obviously a personal side of things, Field Fit is a boot camp business plus OCR business. We're down in Suffolk, in Ipswich. So if you're ever this way, please come and say hello. And then obviously my own personal coaching, which I'm trying to take off a bit more as well this year. So yeah, if you're in need of a coach or just want some advice, just please feel free to just give me a shout, hook me up and I'll help you out as best I can. Or if you want a film, something filming, give us a shout, because I'm pretty sure me or Libbie would happy to travel halfway across country to film people getting dirty and muddy and doing weird monkey things. Hence the reason Monkey Pro.
Yeah, I like it. Something completely random. And to all the listeners as well, Multimedia Sports Podcast. It's on my list there every week. I listen to every episode that you guys put out. You're doing a great job, you and Luke. Keep it up, guys. We love it. Thank you for joining me, listeners and everyone. Thank you for joining me. You take care. Bye, Libbie.
Bye.
Cheers, Jack.
See you later. Thank you.
So there you go. I hope you really enjoyed listening to that. I've just got back from watching the rugby. You already know the score. I know the score now, which is quite good. But England won, which is good news, which is very, very good news. Hopefully we can build on it. We looked a little bit fragile at the back. I was a little bit worried for us. But yeah, we looked better than what we have done in a long time, I would say. We look a lot better than what we have done in a long time. So, that's for me up until next Friday. Yeah, I hope we catch up next Friday on the Swift Half with me and Ian. And if you're a Patreon, you do get to listen to the Swift Half a little bit earlier. We usually try and get it out on a Thursday morning. So if you want to join our patrons, it's only £2. Yeah, £2. You can do more, but £2 is where it starts at. It helps us get these podcasts out. It helps us get to events. Which reminds me, check out the YouTube channel. We put an IROX one out. Just a short one, but there's a big one coming out this week. But yeah, that's our Patreon group. Links in the description if you want to join us. In the meantime, you take care. Thank you for listening. I love you all. Take care. Bye.
I don't know what you want. Let's have a bit of fun till I downfall. My love, if you feel like I do right now, don't say you're on the run to the other side, my love. But you never do. Sugar, there's a reason why we lose. You say you wanna cry, but you never do. Sugar, there's a reason why we lose. Let's have a bit of fun till I downfall. My love, if you feel like I do right now, don't say you're on the run to the other side, my love.